That's an 11 beat Lara cycle in Ahir Bhairav, which is the new rag that I'm learning with Chris, that I've been learning. But anyway, there was a long gap between my last video, which was my pre-India video, and this one. And there was a long gap for a few reasons, not the least of which is because I have this Achilles tendon injury that suddenly happened when I came back. This is the second time it's happened in my life. First time was a year and a half ago, and when I came back from India, it was the second time. Not doing anything special. Wake up in the morning, can't walk anymore. Like just like that, on the crutches for a month, and then off them, then back on them for a month, and it was just miserable. So anyway, I'm still recovering from it technically, but I hope I'm on the other side of, walking down the street 5 minutes, coming back, and crutches again for 2 weeks. But this injury is a real pain in the ass, and it's just the wrong injury on the wrong spot, and it's making things really difficult. And to that fact, I'm sitting on the couch in my living room rather than the floor, because sitting on the floor has put too much pressure on my heel. So anyway, side note. But India. So India was an interesting trip. Before I went, I had all these plans of being there and playing every day, and worried about my fingers. How is that all going to go? Had all my new Laras and was ready. And so instead, what happened is airline lost my sitar. I didn't have it until the last day of the retreat. So I played for a day and a half. And that was disappointing, to say the least. And but what's interesting about that is I learned a few things. First of all, I learned the kindness one to the other in the music community, because my Guruji, Chris Hale, knew a guy, and just I say knew a guy, but he's obviously a teacher in India. He teaches at an academy in Panjim City, which was near Goa, where I was. And so Chris calls this guy and says, listen, I have a student out there, and he's kind of stuck. Can you help him out? Is there some way that he could get an instrument? And so when we finally got in touch with him, basically he said, come to Panjim City, I'll give you a sitar for a couple of days if you need it. It's an old one, you may have to restring it, but you can use it. So I went down to Panjim City, got the sitar, came back, spent 6 hours stringing it. Then my sitar showed up that night, which was funny. But anyway, it was found by one of the dancers has a relative who works in the transport industry, and he was able to help locate the sitar because the airlines hadn't found it. And so anyway, he was able to do that, and everything was fine. So I got it back and came home, and then the heel injury happened. So it's funny, since India, I haven't done much sitar playing, partly because I didn't have a sitar. Then when I did, I had the ankle injury, couldn't sit down to play. Just a huge mess. But what I learned in India, which was interesting, was I learned the relationship between my instrument and me. I had spent a long time thinking that my relationship was with the dancers, with the dance floor, with the musicians on the carpet, and with all that stuff that was happening. None of that was true, and that was my mistake. But this has taught me that lesson. I have a different arrangement with the dancers and the musicians than I thought of until I was without my instrument and unable to play for so long. It turns out that I've sort of somehow realized that, India, burning incense, wearing a kurta, none of that stuff matters. And that's logical when you think about it. So what I came to understand was that my relationship was with my instrument, not with the dancers, not with the carpet, is sort of the point. And that how you practice is obviously the important thing. Where before, if I might have lit some incense and I established the mood and I would practice, I was really practicing so I could go and play in Kathak class, or I was practicing so I could go and sit in front of my teacher for another lesson. But I missed something. I wasn't practicing to become a good musician, which is really what I need to do. And I can't exactly explain why it took India and not having my sitar and the heel injury to teach me those things. But it did, and that's sort of how it came out, and that's kind of what happened. Now, I don't believe anything happens for a reason. I'm not one of those people. So my heel and India didn't happen for a reason. However, as a result of those things happening, I was more thoughtful and more reflective, and somehow those things made sense to me, if that makes sense. So anyway, I won't go on talking this entire video, but what I will do is I'll play for you the different Laras that I'd learned for India, the ones that I didn't really get a chance to play. At least I can play them now. So anyway, so one of the rags, of course, is Ahir Bhairav, which I'm currently learning with my teacher, which I will play, of course, as well. There's also one for Ahil Bilhawal. I think that's how you say it. Alhail Bilhawal. It's a morning rag. And Ahir Bhairav is also a morning rag. And then there's one for Bin Palasi, which we played in the afternoon. And if you check out my previous video, you'll see the one for Rag Marwa. That's what I played in the last one. So I'll play you these Laras now and hope you enjoy them. Anyway, I played those badly, but because I'm rusty and I'm frustrated, my fingers hurt, my heel hurts, and whatever. But I'm climbing back on the horse, and I'm gonna get stuff together. But it's been a rough journey since January, anyway, which I took some time to share. But I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna try and polish this to pretend, oh, I've been practicing. Look at me, I can play great. So I'll leave it in mistakes and all, whatever. So there you go. The India Laras and a little bit of wisdom, at least in my mind it is, from the trip, and kind of a bit of enlightenment, at least in the way that I think about practicing. So it was an interesting start to 2016, but that's where it's at. Another video will be coming soon. So until then, I'll catch you later.